Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, November 23rd Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Kincaid.
Absent.
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Copeland.
Here.
Councilmember Wheat.
Here.
Councilmember Messenger.
Present.
And Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Okay. With that, move on. I don't believe we have minutes for this week, so we'll look at those at our next meeting. We do have a little bit of a lengthy agenda, so we'll try to move this as fast as possible tonight. First up is old business. We have ordinance 2020-14 concerning the new cold project bond, which is on second reading tonight. So I'll have Rob introduce that ordinance or read that on second reading.
Thank you, Mayor. Council. Ordinance number 2020-14 is an ordinance authorizing the city to issue taxable economic development revenue bonds for the New Cold project. As this council knows, New Cold USA 3, LLC advised the city and the Lebanon Economic Development Commission that it proposes the city issue taxable economic development revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $9,800,000 for the purposes of financing economic development facilities consisting of the construction, acquisition, installation, and equipping of approximately 384,000 square feet of a dark, high bay oxygen reduced, highly automated, large-scale cold storage warehouse with an estimated 10,000 pallet capacity situated on 55 acres in the city. The project will be or is physically connected to the new cold allocation area. The Redevelopment Commission of Lebanon has or is expected to adopt a resolution pledging incremental property taxes generated in the allocation area, and the financing of a portion of the project results in the diversification of the industry, the creation and retention of jobs and business opportunities within the city that will be a public benefit to the health, safety, and general welfare of the city. On November 9th of 2020, the Economic Development Commission conducted a public hearing in accordance with the Act and Indiana Code. This has been submitted to this council for its approval of the forms of a financing agreement between the city and the company, a trust indenture with respect to the bonds, and all of these have been defined as the financing documents. And this council has found and determined and ratified and confirmed that the financing and reimbursement of the economic development facilities related to the financing documents, again, will result in the diversification of industry, the creation or retention of business opportunities, and the creation of gainful employment within the jurisdiction of the city. It'll serve a public purpose and will be of the benefit to the health and general welfare of the city, and it complies with the purposes and provisions of the Act, and it does not have a material adverse competitive effect on similar facilities. The proposed financing of the project is further described in the financing documents. Again, will be the issuance of bonds, and such financing was approved by the commission, and it hereby is approved by this council. The city is authorized to issue the bonds, again, in amount not to exceed $9,800,000. There's several details that are outlined in section 3 on page 2 of the ordinance that we read before. And again, on page 3, we go through that the mayor and the clerk are authorized and directed in the name on behalf of the city to sell the bonds to a purchaser selected by such officers. They're authorized and directed to select a financial institution to serve as a trustee. And further provisions are all outlined in those sections. Again, it's important to note that Indebtedness that is charged against shall never constitute, I should clarify that, indebtedness that is charged against the general credit or taxing power of the city. It will be generated from tax increment. To the extent that tax increment is not sufficient, payments will be made by the company under one or more agreements in the form of a guarantee or taxpayer agreement. The substantial final forms of the financing documents are hereby approved, and again, the mayor and the clerk treasurer of the city are hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all other documents that are needed under the financing, and this bond shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Ordinance 2020-14 has been read on second reading. Any discussion from council? Any public comment? Okay. Again, I think this is a huge win for our community. This is a $150 million investment in Lebanon, 150 jobs averaging about $30 an hour. So I think it's more companies like this that we want to see here, and we're excited to welcome New Cold to Lebanon. So with that, I would entertain a motion on ordinance 2020-14.
I move we approve ordinance 2020-14.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 2020-14. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, by Keith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is adopted unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, that concludes what I have for old business. Is there anything from council? Okay, new business then. First item up here, you can pass it down there, Rob. First item up here is resolution 2020-10. This is kind of a follow-up on a discussion and authorization from last council meeting concerning the pumper truck for the Lebanon Fire Department. We made a motion at our last meeting, but upon further review, we had a challenge from the clerk treasurer's office. Sorry, football analogy there. We had to essentially do it through a resolution form. So that's essentially what this is tonight. Essentially, it's kind of formalizing the decision we made at the last meeting. We already have possession of the truck. Chief, I don't know if you want to say anything about it. But again, this is just kind of the formality resolution that actually appropriates the funds to complete the purchase. So, Chief, you're good, wave me off. Any discussion concerning resolution 2020-10 from council? Rob, you mind reading that for me?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Again, Resolution 2020-10 is an additional appropriation by this council. This council has determined it is now necessary to appropriate more money than was originally appropriated in its annual budget, and all additional appropriations require a public hearing, of which this council has served proper notice. Resolution 2020-10 is to appropriate funds for the purchase of a fire truck for the Lebanon Fire Department, and it will be appropriated out of Fund 105. This resolution shall be in full force effect immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, with that, at this time, I'll open the public hearing on resolution 2020-10. If you have any public comment, feel free to step forward and share your thoughts. Okay, no sudden movements, so I will close the public hearing on resolution 2020-10. Any further discussion from council? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion concerning resolution 2020-10.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-10.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2020-10. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That resolution is approved. Thank you, council. All right, next up, item B, resolution 2020-12, which is a declaratory resolution and economic development plan of the Waterford project. I believe we have Steve Hinkie tonight, probably here to answer questions, and Lisa Lee from Ice Miller. This is again, declaratory resolution and economic development plan for the Waterford project. So Rob, I'll have you read this.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Resolution 2020-12, again, is a resolution of this council approving a declaratory resolution and economic development plan of the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission and order of the Plan Commission. The Lebanon Redevelopment Commission adopted Resolution 2020-07 on November 9th of this year, which established the Waterford Single Family Housing Economic Development Area pursuant to the act. It also designated the entire area as the West Lifestyle Community Housing Allocation Area, and it approved an economic development plan for the area. On November 16th of 2020, the Plan Commission approved and adopted an order approving the declaratory resolution and the plan, determining that the declaratory resolution and the plan conform to the plan of development for the city, and it submitted the Plan Commission order to this council. Pursuant to the act, the commission has submitted the declaratory resolution and the plan to this council. The act requires approval of the declaratory resolution, the plan, and the Plan Commission order by the Common Council. Therefore, this council hereby finds and determines that it will be in the best interest of the city to establish a single-family housing economic development area as described in the declaratory resolution. The council hereby approves the establishment of the single-family housing economic development area known as the Waterford Single-Family Housing Economic Development Area as described in the declaratory resolution and the designation of such single-family housing economic development area in accordance with Indiana Code. This council hereby approves in all respects, the declaratory resolution, the plan, and the Plan Commission order. And again, this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage.
Thank you, Rob. Steve or Lisa, do you want to say anything? Okay. Any discussion, comments from council? Again, this is kind of the step 2 of the creation of the Waterford Single Family Residential TIF District. We've talked about that at length, it seems like, at other meetings. Again, I think this is another great, unique opportunity for Lebanon, and I think the creation of this district will help us, that project advance even faster, which is, I think, what we all want to see. And very excited for the partnership we've had with the Hinkie Development Group as well, too. So, any further discussion or questions? Is there any public, is this a public hearing on this one? No. Any public comment concerning Resolution 2020-12? Okay, seeing none. Would entertain a motion then concerning Resolution 2020-12.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2020-12.
We have a motion to approve Resolution 2020-12. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that resolution passes unanimously. Thank you, council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, next up, sorry, like I said, long agenda tonight. Resolution 2020-13, a resolution creating new funds for deposit and management of sums derived from COVID relief. This resolution come to us from the Clerk Treasurer's Office. As part of the CARES Act, we needed to establish essentially a fund to receive the federal government's relief payments to the city as part of the CARES Act. So this essentially allows us to create and authorize those funds, or create the funds so we can receipt those into the city and then essentially reimburse our costs associated with the coronavirus pandemic. I'll let Rob read it and we can talk if you have any questions.
Yep, thank you, Mayor, Council. Again, this is somewhat of a two-step process, but I'll read Resolution 2020-13, which is a resolution of this council creating the new funds for the deposit and management of sums derived from COVID relief. The city will or has received federal monies related to COVID emergency, which must be deposited and maintained in separate funds. It has become necessary to create these new funds for the proper management of the city's finances and the proper accounting of those sums. The clerk treasurer is hereby authorized to create and maintain the following funds for the city. The IFA CARES Act Grant Fund, number 150, for the deposit and management of all COVID federal government sums received. And then the CESF CARES Act Fund, 151, for the deposit and management of all COVID federal grant sums received. All funds shall be non-reverting and subject to any and all restrictions pursuant to the terms under which the funding mechanisms are created, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you, Rob. So again, the two-step process, this fund creates it, and our next one, resolution will, concerning the reimbursement about that. So any questions from council concerning resolution 2020-13? Any public, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dick.
The first one is to accept the money, and the second one is to distribute the money, is that it?
Correct, yeah, so we have to receipt the funds into a designated fund, which is
Yeah.
this what creates that fund. And then once it's created, I mean, we have the funds already, but we need to be created on paper, so to speak.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the reimbursement in the next section as well. So this is just the actual creation of those funds. Any public comment concerning resolution 2020-13? Okay. At this time then, I would entertain a motion concerning resolution 2020-13.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 2020-13.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2020-13. Is there a second? Second from Morris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you, council. Pass those down to you. All right. Next up is resolution 2020-14, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lebanon to provide for reimbursement of public health and public safety payroll costs associated with CARES Act funding. So again, this one will be self-explanatory again, so I'll let Rob read it as well.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Council. Resolution 2020-14 is, again, a resolution for this council to provide for the reimbursement of public health and safety payroll costs with the CARES Act funding. This council is seeking reimbursement of public health and public safety payroll costs as allowed through the federal CARES Act funding, which has been received by the city from the Indiana Finance Authority. Whereas there's been designated by this council the IFA CARES Act Grant Fund 150, which such reimbursements are receipted. Under the normal procedures, the payroll expenditure activity for the public health and public safety payroll costs would be captured in the IFA CARES Fund by transferring the expenditure from the fund from which the expenditures were originally made. In light of the governor's public health emergency, an alternative process is now being implemented to transfer all or a portion as determined appropriate by the council of the reimbursed federal CARES Act monies that are specific to the city's public health and public safety payroll cost in the Lebanon General Fund. Whereas this process is contemplated herein is intended to allow for the maximum usage of these funds, and this council hereby establishes the following alternative process in order to utilize the CARES Act funding to properly pay the public health and safety cost. The CARES Act reimbursement for public health and public safety payroll shall be receipted into the IFA CARES Fund. Thereafter, instead of moving expenditures from the originating fund to the IFA CARES Fund, a claim shall be created against the IFA CARES Fund for the amount up to the payroll reimbursement amount that the council determines shall be receipted into the general fund. This claim must be supported by the public health and/or public payroll costs that have been expensed by the general fund and the appropriate funds and clearly documented in the records of the city. The money claimed shall be receipted into the general fund. After payroll reimbursement amount has been receipted into the general fund, the normal appropriation procedures shall apply to the expenditures of this reimbursement amount, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you, Rob. All right, as the resolution stated, so we received about $500,000 in CARES Act funding from the federal government via the state. So essentially what that does is essentially all applicable costs we've had for public health, as well as they've included public safety. So essentially we're using that to essentially pay for the firefighters and the police officers that worked during the pandemic situation. So essentially about $500,000 of reimbursement towards the city that we're being able to apply due to this. So any questions on that from council? It's kind of a unique thing where we get kind of manna from heaven from the federal government like this, but that's kind of where we are. So, you guys all good up front? Questions? Okay. Would entertain a motion then concerning resolution 2020-14.
I move we approve resolution 2020-14.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2020-14. Is there a second? Second from John. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that resolution is approved unanimously. Thank you, council. Okay, that is those resolutions. So next up is item E, which is a letter of support federal grant application, reconstruction of County Road 250 North from State Road 39 to Witt Road for in year 2026. So turn that over to Kevin.
Thank you very much. This letter may sound familiar, may look familiar to you. You executed a similar letter last year at this time. So last year, we submitted County Road 250 North for reconstruction to the federal Group 3, notice of federal availability for funds. And we were shortlisted. We were close to getting the project. And at the really, when it came down to internal review of the project, we hit some stumbling blocks because there is a section, well, there's a couple things. There's a section of 250 North that is actually in the county. There's a little donut hole in the middle of the city right there. And then the annexations for Sunbrook Villas and Sunbrook, the original neighborhood of Sunbrook, were not complete. Those annexations had already been acted on, and we had completed those annexation actions, but because we were the year prior to a census, those annexations would not become official until January 1 of this year. So now those things are official, and we feel confident. We had a solid application. As I said, we were shortlisted. We kind of got flagged because of technicalities on the right-of-way jurisdictions. But now we are past that, and so we would like to essentially resubmit this project for federal funding. As the mayor said, this is for fiscal year 2026, that it's a little ways out, but that is the cycle and the speed at which the Federal Highway Department moves.
So my 10-month-old son will be in first grade? Okay.
Yes. There is always a possibility you can go a little faster, but a little faster in that system is 6 months. So if we are way ahead on right-of-way acquisition, we could possibly move up a season and be in 2025. But keep in mind, this is fiscal year for NDOT, so it spans 25, 26. They do not operate on a calendar year. So again, this is just a letter of support. This does not bind you financially to anything. This is just your letter of support saying that you will provide the necessary matching funds to complete the project if and when we are awarded. And keep in mind, even that there's several years before you're actually even required to sign a contract saying you will produce these matching funds. What is the match? The total project cost is $5,360,000. Your match of that would be 20%, or $1,072,000. And then there's a little bit of additional money there that is because we have to locally fund that donut hole area. So this is the letter that has been submitted to you. It's relatively similar in scope to the letter last year. In fact, surprisingly, it's a little cheaper. Last year, the total matching funds that we were committing was $1,690,850, and this year is $1,613,800. So that's what I'm asking for, is for your support on this financial commitment letter so that we can make our December 11th submittal for federal funding for our 2026 project.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin on the support letter? Okay. With that, would entertain a motion to approve the letter of support for the federal grant application for Witt Road, or 250 North, excuse me.
I'll make a motion, we approve the support letter for the application of federal funding for County Road 250 North.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Sierra. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that is approved, and I'll pass the letter down for all of us to sign.
Do you have an original copy?
Actually, probably, you may want to use yours. Sure. Yep. Okay. And just to clarify too, that's different than the one we submitted last meeting as well. That's a different federal project? Or the letter of support we had last time?
It is different, yes.
That was for the bridge, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the last letter of support
Yeah.
that we offered up was the bridge project on Witt Road, which is a 50/50 match for community crossings. I gave an update earlier at the Board of Works meeting, so I recommend you take a look at that or review my report that I filed, but we're supposed to, the state is supposed to announce community crossing projects in mid-November. I'm hoping that mid-November means by Thanksgiving, and that we'll see something, in the next couple of days before we break for the holiday. But we'll keep you all posted. I will say we feel pretty good about that application. It was a solid application. It was well-reviewed. It was partnered with Boone County, and coincidentally, the state has never not funded a community crossing bridge project.
Okay.
Hope we're not the first.
Thank you, Kevin, appreciate it. Okay, that concludes that. Next up, details of the end of the year, I guess we saved all our homework for the end of the year, didn't we? All right, next is ordinance 2020-15. This is the consideration of the M&I Riley property annexation to the city of Lebanon, Indiana, and this is on first reading. And Kevin, you're going to introduce that for Ben?
I do have this,
Yeah,
yes.
great, thank you.
Ordinance 2020-15 for the annexation of the M&I Riley property. Again, a couple of things to note. This is a 100% voluntary annexation. Let me show you the aerial of the location here. I can see the overhead. Very good. So this is the Ken's Foods property, to orient you. This is Edwards Drive to the north, and this highlighted or encircled in yellow there is the M&I Riley property. Again, 100% annexation, 100% voluntary annexation. This was heard by the Advisory Planning Commission on November 16th and forwarded as docket number 20-36 to the council with a favorable recommendation, 8-0. They also recommended the assignment, or they assigned the planned business industrial zoning, PBI zoning classification for the annexation if you were to move forward with that recommendation. We conducted a public hearing at the Plan Commission, and there will be a public hearing conducted here as well. This is property that the Ken's Foods Corporation is looking at purchasing just to secure a land position if and when they want to expand. As you know, you saw in the paper, the business park is just about full. So this is Ken's just taking some action for if and when they want to expand, that they have the ability. There is no plans for them to expand in the near future. They do not intend to file any development plan applications anytime in the near future. Again, this is a speculative purchase for if and when they need to grow. Coincidentally, Ken's Foods has outperformed their original projections in the business park and is doing quite well, and is why they're taking this action.
Great. We also do have representatives from Ken's Foods tonight, so thank you guys for joining us, and you have any questions for them, we can direct it that way. But at this time then, I'll have Rob read ordinance 2020-15 on first reading, then we'll have the public hearing.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Again, as Kevin indicated, this is ordinance number 2020-15. It's a 100% of the owners of the parcels for the proposed areas in Exhibit A and B have filed a voluntary petition with this council pursuant to Indiana Code. The Lebanon Plan Commission held a public hearing at its meeting on November 16th of this year and forwarded docket 20-36 to this council with a favorable recommendation, 8-0, again to assign the planned business industrial zoning classification for the annexation area. This council will conduct or has conducted a public hearing on November 23rd of 2020 as required by law. It's adopted a fiscal plan in accordance with Indiana law, and the annexation area meets the contiguity requirements by Indiana law. This council finds that the annexation criteria has been met, and the annexation area generally south of the existing Lebanon Business Park adjacent to Ken's Foods, directly west of Middle Jamestown Road and adjacent to existing corporate limits along the northern boundary of the annexation area are hereby declared annexed to and declared to be a part of the city. The annexation area is further to include the contiguous public highways and right-of-ways of the public highways. The annexation area is hereby assigned Council District 2 and shall become a part thereof immediately upon the effective date of the ordinance. Again, the annexation area is assigned Planned Business Industrial Zoning classification, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage, its publication, and upon the applicable 30-day waiting period.
Okay. Keith, your District 2, I believe?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Any questions from council or discussion concerning that? Okay. At this time, then, I would open the public hearing on ordinance 2020-15. If you have any public comment, please feel free to step forward and share your thoughts with us. No sudden movements. Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing on ordinance 2020-15. Any new comments, discussions from council? Okay, ordinance 2020-15 has been read on first reading. We will take that up for adoption at our next meeting, December 14th at 7:15 p.m. So be on second reading then. Okay, again, sorry for the long agenda. I know we've got a couple more people here tonight. Last item, a couple of items, but it's kind of a group of items. We have food and beverage requests. So I'll turn this over to John, the chairman of the Food and Beverage Committee, to introduce these requests.
Thank you, Mayor. The Food and Beverage Committee had a recent meeting on Thursday, November 19th. We had 4 nonprofit organizations make a presentation, and they are here this evening to make a short presentation to the full council. The first on the agenda would be I'm going to call it Lebanon Boys and Girls Club, and it would be Mark Branch.
Good evening. I'm Mark Branch, the CEO with Boys and Girls of Boone County, and we're proud to call it the Boys and Girls of Lebanon, so that's great. Again, before we talk about this evening's request, I do want to thank you for your support last spring. We were one of 4 agencies that was blessed to receive $10,000. We used it for our food program. Because of that support, we were able to keep the food program going longer than we originally planned. And through that food program, we served a total of 21,340 meals. Almost 19,000 were hot meals, where people came to the Boys and Girls Club and picked it up off our back door, off the kitchen. And the last month of July, we actually did almost 2,500 meal kits. We weren't comfortable with putting hot meals out in hot weather, so we actually gave people meals that they could take home. And on Monday, they would get 4 meals per person that would take them through to Friday, and Friday they get 3 that would take them through Monday. So your help on that was just instrumental moving forward. And we shared with the council, you'd probably be surprised that about 70% of the people that came through were senior citizens. So we expanded beyond our mission to really serve the community. And again, your support really went directly to them and made that happen. And it was a huge deal for a lot of those people. And I give part of the senior citizen support, I would give credit to the Senior Service Center and to ARC. They actually had clients that they arranged for delivery of the food to them. So it was a great partnership of agencies coming together where we prepared the food and then they helped deliver it to people that couldn't get to the Boys and Girls Club. So again, it was a nice opportunity to see in a really tough time everybody come together. And again, knowing Lebanon, no one's surprised by that. So for tonight's support, what we're asking for is, again, food is a big deal at the Boys and Girls Club. About 65% of our members are in free or reduced lunch. So we provide meals every day to our kids. We also just on Friday sent home food baskets. It was a partnership actually with the Children's Bureau to families and along with winter coats. In December, we'll serve over 800 meals to our kids just in that month, including a couple special Christmas parties. We're doing those on 2 separate nights, so we have smaller groups of kids and safer, but they'll have a special meal and their siblings and one of their parents can come to that. We'll also be doing at that time food baskets both for families and also for seniors. It's something that kind of touched our heart. We have a leadership group called the Torch Club, And so they're working with different people and partnerships to identify that, put together food baskets for our families and for people moving forward. So your support would go towards that. It's very timely for us. We're like every other agency that COVID has hit us hard. We're actually projecting through the year that by the end of the year we'll lose about $300,000 in revenue sources across the entire county. And because of general support like what you did in the spring and other things, we've been able to kind of get through this year, move forward with it, but we have real concerns going into next year, just like we all do, as this continues to stretch forward and stuff. So your support now will really help us through the month of December and make sure those kids have good meals every day, as well as send meals home to those families that really need that support.
Thank you, Mark.
We're going to try and do it a little different this year. Since we have 4 presentations tonight, I think we're going to wait till the end of the last presentation before we make a recommendation to the full council.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Okay.
The second presentation tonight is going to be, and unfortunately she's not going to be here tonight, it's going to be the Caring Center where Teresa, how you pronounce it?
Hanners. Yeah.
Made a presentation to the committee on the 19th as well, and I believe Sierra will make a presentation for them this evening since she's unable to attend.
I'm just going to make it short and sweet here. Teresa came to us talking about the Caring Center being in need this year. Typically, they serve around 11 tons of food before the pandemic hit, and now they're serving at minimum 12 and a half tons to the community, which is a crazy amount. She said her demand has definitely increased since COVID has happened. Over the holiday season, they typically donate around 8 tons of food just for the week of Thanksgiving. So that is a lot of food that they're going to be delivering here shortly. They try to give any family that comes to them food. So it's really important they try to never ever turn anyone away and make sure everyone has something special to eat for the holidays. They also donate food for Christmas. They have 100 to 125 meals already set to give out during Christmas time. So they're definitely going to feed a lot of people in our community. Caring Center does a lot for everyone. They never turn anyone down. They do more than just food. They also do clothing and other things. So Teresa just came to us and asked if there's anything we could do to try to help.
Okay.
Thank you. Some of the other information she provided was they're open 5 days a week, 6 hours a day. Now they deliver food to the sick and elderly because they can't get out to the Caring Center, so they've reached out to do that. They make deliveries to quarantine families as well. 12 deliveries a month. They're preparing for 350 meals for the week of Thanksgiving alone. So again, this is another nonprofit organization that is serving our community, which needs our help. I will bring up the fact that all 4 of the presentations tonight, they depend on donations. They do fundraisers. This year, all the fundraisers have basically dried up because of the situation that we're going through in our country today. So they're really in dire straits and dire needs of some financial help. The next presentation, and I didn't see her. No, that's me. It'd be the Lebanon Shalom House. That would be Lisa Williams, and she's unable to attend as well tonight. So I will make her presentation as soon as I find it. The Shalom House has a hot meal program. They do 2 community meals a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays. They do 70 meals delivered now. They do deliveries now, where they hadn't done that in the past. Now they don't do indoor consumption of food because of the COVID, so now they're doing carry out. And actually, when people call, they set the food out in the bag or whatever out on the porch for the people to come and pick up their food products. They have approximately 200 to 230 meals for carry out. Local grants and donations, basically what I said earlier, have dried up right now during the COVID. They get no government grants because they have volunteers that do the serving and help prepare the food. Well, part of the grants is to do background checks. They do volunteers. Each time, each Tuesday or each Saturday, they'll have a different volunteer. So it's ineffective or cost ineffective for them to do background checks every time someone comes in. So they, again, they serve our community well. They do quite a bit of meals, and they're in dire needs of some financial assistance from the food and beverage if possible.
Okay.
And then our last presentation, I don't see anybody here, so maybe I'll do that
I
one too.
thought I saw Joyce, though. I don't know if she's outside in the hall.
Is Joyce Douglas out there?
Michelle, can you peek and see if there's anybody in the hallway
I
real
thought
quick?
I saw it earlier.
Was here earlier.
She may have looked at the agenda and left. I wouldn't have blamed her.
Maybe.
No luck? Okay.
Okay.
Was here.
Our last presentation, and she was there, was Joyce Douglas. She represents the Lebanon Welfare League, or Kappa Delta Phi. Their fundraiser was canceled due to COVID. The main fundraiser was Breakfast with Santa, which again has been canceled. They've been in operation for 83 years for the program. It was started in 1937.
Oh.
They are a nonprofit organization. They have 17 members. They box the food.
She's walking in, so if you give her probably 30 seconds.
Ah,
All right, Joyce.
I was making your presentation, but I'll be more than happy
Yeah,
to
feel free
turn
to
it over
step-
to you.
Thank you, I had to leave for,
We thought you looked at the agenda and realized you thought
here a
we'd
lot earlier.
come back at 11. That's we, no, just kidding.
Hello, everyone.
No worries, you're fine.
Okay. Joyce Douglas, representing Kappa Delta Phi, Lebanon Welfare League. We are a civic philanthropic group that is well known throughout the community because we not only help people at Christmas, we help them year round. And I'm here to breathlessly request food and beverage funding for a much-needed community that during COVID, it has put an extra strain for food scarcity for these people and for everyone. It's been difficult, but especially for food insecure. And so, to give you a little background, in 1937, if my memory's correct, Henry Ulen and Mr. Jones got together and saw the need back then and decided no child and no family should go hungry at Christmas. And they started the basket program. Harry, Mr. Jones' son, took it over, and he continued it with Mr. Ulen until he retired to Florida and handed the baton off to Ad Green, the late Ad Green, who was a KDP civic member. That's how KDP came to get everything and to help get all the information and to help continue the help. And we've been doing it since 1962. Last year we served over 391 people that needed food. And we get their names by filling out applications. The Caring Center is quite nice. I don't know if Teresa's here, but Teresa Hainers of the Caring Center is quite nice to allow us to put our applications there for the people that are in need to fill out. And then we in turn put them on a list. We request people to come in and get this done in a time-sensitive time so we can, again, raise money towards the funds for groceries, number one, which has gone up considerably since March this year. And number two, to get sponsors. We get individuals and businesses that call Sue Muncie, who is our secretary-treasurer, and ask to pick up. They'd like to donate, and they'd like to adopt a family. And in that regard, they in turn purchase a meal for that family. And we have families and individuals that come back to us and say they got back up on their feet through illness or loss of job or whatever the reason that they needed our help that year. They in turn go and adopt a family the following year because they pay it forward. And that's the beauty of donation and giving. And we're here because we are stretched in funding to purchase the groceries. And what we do is we supply the items needed for a meal. And it's canned vegetables, boxed potatoes and stuffing, boxed gelatin and Jell-O, cake mix, icing, and a meat certificate of your choice of turkey or ham, or if you're a vegetarian, we supply that. And the other thing is IGA works well with us. They called us one year and said, well, we have a problem, and we have on the meat certificate, only for meat only, no alcohol, no tobacco. So we thought, oh, are they trying to buy something? And no, they wanted to know if they could get ground beef to make it last longer. And of course, and so as you can see, the need is there. They're very grateful, and we are so grateful. And we, for a long time, didn't want to come and ask for funding, but the older donors died off. The younger ones, some have 2-3 jobs to keep their family going, and they have other circumstances, so our donations are down. And we appreciate anything at all that you can give us to help these families at Christmas time. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we again appreciate anything. And Sue Muncie appreciates it also. She's been Secretary of Treasurer and a civic member for almost 50 years with our group. And her mother ran this before she did, so it's an honor to volunteer and help her out.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Joyce?
Thank
I
you
think
so much.
And thank you for all your hard work. Again, I appreciate what all you guys do during this holiday season, absolutely.
We really appreciate it, thank
Yep.
you. And if you ever can, I don't want to jinx my opportunity here, but if ever you can opt out of food and beverage, think about it. That extra tax or any other tax that we can opt out of would be appreciative in the community, I am sure, year-round. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
I think as Joyce told us, all the food that they get is all local. They go to either IGA or go to Aldi's for the boxes and cans of food and things like that, so they try to keep it within the community. As we can see, as each one made their presentation, you can see that the numbers have increased and increased. And I'm sure that after this year, we're going to see another increase in numbers. So I think it's very imperative that we as a council, we can look at our food and beverage to help our citizens out there that are in need, and especially this year. We're having more and more people in need, more than ever. So I guess with that, I'm going to let Brent make a recommendation for our meeting from the other night.
Yeah, it was great. We got to talk to these folks. What I like is these are all local grassroots organizations. They're local people helping local people. The money stays here. This is the kind of thing we should encourage. The downside to that is they have relatively small budgets, so whatever we can give them makes a huge difference compared to, say, a national organization. So this council, previous councils have been good stewards of the public's money. We have good, safe amounts of balances in our funds. So I would say this year with some special needs, I would call this a rainy day, given the situation, the folks that need help. I would recommend that we double the normal 1,500 and make it 3,000 for each of these organizations.
So there'd be a total of 12,000 for?
12,000 total.
And, oh, sorry, I'll second that, I agree.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for discussion from council. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that request has been approved. Absolutely. Thank you all very much.
I would encourage, when you get your paperwork with your nonprofit status and tax and things like that, go to the clerk's office. Tanya won't be there for a while, but you can present it to her office. They can get it processed for you. And if it's closed, you'll have to call and make arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Again, thank you all for everything you guys do this time of year. Dick, I believe you had some items as well you want to talk, or, I'm sorry, John, were you done? I apologize, sir.
I got a couple items, and John's got items, so I'll let John go first.
We're going to do one more food and beverage maybe presentation tonight. I attended a meeting last week at the Lebanon High School Boosters, and as you can see or tell that everybody's cutting back and losing funds and things like that. Well, with the winter sports coming up, it's down to the players that can go to a sport, the coaches, officials, and each player gets 2 guests. If you have 2 players or 2 of the same family, it's still just 2 people. They're cutting back quite a bit. If it's an away meet, you have to find out if you can even go. Lebanon will not host away to come to our sporting events because of the COVID and things like that. Majority of the money made by the Lebanon High School Boosters comes from the attendance that they charge for the people coming, and concessions. Concessions has been canceled for this year, so they have absolutely no money coming in that way. What they do with their money is they pay for a variety of things. One of them is the scholar athletes. They get T-shirts and things like that, and they get honored. But at the end of the year, the balance of the money, they go to scholarship to help kids that played sports, participated in sports, was a member of a sporting event or something like that, so that they can qualify for a scholarship. And they use the money to help students to get a scholarship. And so they came up with another idea, and they wanted to live stream. Since you couldn't attend, they wanted to come up with live streaming. And they have several different packages when it came to live streaming, but what was part of it was, if you were a sponsor, you could get anywhere from a 30-second advertisement while it was being on the air, 60-second, or 90-second, depending on which program you went for. And I met with Mr. LePage, and we kind of discussed it a little bit. We met last Friday, and to live stream high school sporting events, I said recommended for commercials or ads, 30 seconds, 60, 90 seconds. Mr. LePage has got together with the high school. He talked with the athletic director and the person that actually, Wade Thatcher, that does the live streaming, and they came up with some packages and things like that. And what I would like to do, Joe, you're more than welcome if you have some more that you'd like to make a presentation on. But we were hoping that maybe we could join forces with the Community Development Fund and Food and Beverage and go half and half and assist Lebanon High School this year. And if I look at it correctly, we would be assisting on approximately 24 events. And they're also looking for other sponsors, businesses and things like that. They put it out there, so I don't know if we got the first bite of the pie or what. But we worked with them in the past. I know Joe's done commercials for the city channels and things like that. And it'll be something to represent the city of Lebanon on the commercials. So I would like to ask the council, and I guess I'd like to make a proposal, that we assist the Lebanon High School Boosters for $2,000, with $1,000 coming from the food and beverage and $1,000 coming from the Community Development Fund.
I assume you mean the Casino Riverboat Fund?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The Casino Riverboat Fund?
That's fine.
Okay, that's what, it's not called that, but just,
Okay.
yep.
And
Okay.
so I would like to make a motion for that.
So for a total of $2,000, $1,000 from each fund, correct?
$1,000 from each fund, yes.
Okay.
John, can I make this comment? According to the last appropriations report, in the general council, in our budget, we had a $2,000 in there for promotions.
That was 2019?
Yeah,
No, for 2020.
this year. 2020, we had 2,000 in there for budget for promotions. We currently have a balance of $1,600.45, or $1,645. Why don't we take our promotions out of that instead of food and beverage?
I'm fine with that.
Our share.
Okay. We do that?
You want to change your motion then?
I'll let you make a motion if you like.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to change it then to the two funds that Dick just mentioned.
Okay. So from the council promotions line, and then as well as 1,000 from the community development. Yep, or Casino Riverboat, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion for discussion. We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second by Brent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that is approved.
I left the council copies of the events that Joe has selected and worked with the high school.
Oh, sorry, Joe, real quick.
Just one quick addition, and many thanks to you and Councilman Copeland for taking the lead on this. A couple different things to note there. Some of the events, when you go on the IHSAA website to go and view, you have to pay to be able to view those things. A portion of the money that we're working together to be able to provide is, Councilman Copeland mentioned the two loved ones going with that athlete to watch. Extended family will be able to see online a lot of these different events for free, thanks to what we're doing here tonight. Also, Councilman mentioned 30 or 60-second spots highlighting the city. We want to make this a collaborative effort, so I'm happy to write them and edit them, but would love to extend the invitation to those within earshot here to be able to record those. We can have those. You can make it your own, and we can put it together in a 30-second or 60-second nice little package, and so they'll air during the swim meet or during the basketball game, those types of things, to be able to really drive home that community spirit that we have. So two different things, and many thanks for your support tonight.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Are you good, John?
Yeah, I just hope next year we can get back to concessions and get back to what was the norm at that time.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, and Dick, you had a couple things?
I got a couple items here that I want to bring up this evening. Item one, the Lebanon City Council would like to request that $1,200,000 be set aside in our food and beverage fund for the Lebanon Park Board and Park Department for calendar year 2021. The council requests of the Park Board to work with City Engineer Kevin Krulik to enter into an agreement with DLZ Engineering to develop the Big Four Trail from downtown to Abner Longley Park. Entering into this agreement will allow us to continue creating our trail system throughout our city. And we also believe that when the trail grant funding comes available, again, this will help our chances to obtain a grant to construct the trail here in the future. The remaining funds, we ask that the Park Board and Department to spend wisely on things that you have on your capital project list. The council also wishes to thank the Parks Department and the board for all that you do to make our parks some of the nicest parks in the area. I also ask that these funds in the food and beverage fund be spent throughout the calendar year 21 and may be extended into future years if all approved funding has not been spent in that calendar year. So hopefully that if we can't get it all done in 2021, we'll just carry this over whatever's left up until the next year for you. And I would like to make a motion that we approve this request.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second for discussion from council. John, is there anything you want to say? I know you guys talked about this at your working session, but just for the public watching at home, could you kind of detail maybe some of the projects we talked about in the working session on what these would go towards?
Excuse me?
For the public watching at home, what are the projects they're talking about?
John?
Yeah, thank you. That's, honestly, thank you. Obviously, like John, I'll echo what John was saying.
John, you might speak into the mic a little bit.
Yes, anyway, we have several different projects that we have outlined. Playground designs as far as that at Memorial Park, making it all-inclusive with a shelter there, knocking down the concession stand. We also have restrooms that we're looking at our trailhead, looking at a restroom at the hot pond, log cabin restoration along with our lighting program that we have lined up also around Memorial Park. Not only, it's a pretty dark park, so we would be lighting up all the trail along with the roads and the parking lot. And then also quite a bit of asphalt that needs replaced and repaired along our trail system, along with Memorial Park, the basketball courts, along with walking trail along the baseball field, also expanding the road and resurfacing quite a bit of the parking lot. And that's just to name a few of them. So there you go. That's most of our projects.
Mayor,
These are all following our master plan too that we've done in our capital improvements, and the park board has listed the priorities in all those.
other than getting the trail project moving, we did not want to be in a position to dictate to the board, park board, what projects to spend their money on, because we think they can make the wise decisions on what they think is the most priority. So we want to give them that leeway, so.
I just want to make sure the public knew what,
Sure.
they hear $1.2 million, they're,
Yeah.
what's it for, so.
Yeah.
I do have a question that's maybe, I'm looking at the clerk treasurer, but I know this isn't your area of expertise, Michelle, so, trying to think whether or not we can make this motion, I mean, we can have a discussion, I think, and have support for it, but I think if we want to actually allocate, kind of set aside $1.2 million, we may need an official resolution, similar to what we did for the fire truck. So we can absolutely start drafting that and get that ready for our next meeting.
That's fine.
I just don't know if we can have a vote and say, earmark, so to speak, this money for
fine.
the parks. But I think we can do that. We could do that for our next, and Rob, I think that's correct, Rob, because it'll have to do the official additional appropriation.
Sure.
Discussion.
That's
So, okay, make sure you're comfortable with that. Unless there were funds you wanted, because we do have unappropriated funds this year in our remaining food and beverage that have already been budgeted. I don't know if we wanted to apply any of those towards a project. We could do that tonight.
We still got another meeting.
Fair enough. All right. Okay.
Also, item 2, the Lebanon City Council would like to make also another request of, and we'll probably have to do this by resolution as well.
Yep.
$500,000 to be set aside in our sanitation fund for the Lebanon Parks Board and Parks Department for calendar year 2021 as a matching grant. This council requests of the Park Board and Department to work with City Engineer Kevin Krulik to help build the Stone Eater Bike Trail at our former city dump site. The county wishes this to be a matching cash grant not to exceed $500,000 from the fund. The council understands that there's a group of city employees working together to raise funds for this project. We ask that this group work together, work through the Parks Department board and department, because this facility would come under the maintenance of the Parks Department. So we believe they should be involved in the decision process. Also, the council also requests that any donations received for the construction of Stone Eater Bike Trail be turned into the clerk's office. We ask the clerk to determine if these funds should be or can be turned into a revolving fund for the Stone Eater Bike Trail in the Parks Department, so they can be available for the department to use as needed. I'm also going to make this motion to approve this request, subject to a resolution at the next meeting, but I also want this to be, Kevin did bring this to my attention today, that we do have a sanitary ordinance. He doesn't believe that there's anything that says we can't use this funding for that, but I'd like to ask our city attorney to review that current sanitation ordinance, just to make sure that we can be okay, and if there's something there that we should amend that to approve this, to ask that we can put something together to amend that ordinance, so that way we can use these funds. These funds will be used to help build the bike trail at the city dump, the old city dump, which means it'll help take care of a lot of costs in dirt and grading and so forth to help make this bike trail work. So So that, this also, I also ask that these funds be used in the calendar year 2021, but if they don't get them all spent by then, I ask that it can be carried over to the following year.
Okay. So we may work on a resolution that actually creates a
So
separate
that's, yeah, I'll
separate
make
fund
a
and-
motion to approve that, subject to the resolution at next meeting.
Okay. Any discussion concerning those topics?
I have a question. I want to make sure that 500,000 we're talking about is to match cash and cash only. No in-kind donations. Money only.
Is there a reason behind that, Keith? Just curious.
In a second.
Huh?
What?
Is there a reason why that is, or?
Because it's easier to know where the money's going.
Okay,
What we're going to put into it, we want to see somebody else matching it.
okay. Just, like I said, just kind of curious.
Yep.
Could I maybe just clarify that? I understand your point about work-in-kind donations. What about grants that we might receive? Would that be eligible for matching if they were?
I think so.
Up to the 500,000, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion on those two items? Okay. I think their efforts are well received, and we'll kind of start working on some resolutions for next meeting for you.
Yeah.
All right?
Have Rob check that
For
ordinance.
sure,
us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Is there
you
anything
all.
else from council? Thank you, Kevin.
Wait a minute.
You gonna do president's now?
Do what?
You doing the president's now?
No, next,
We elected at our first meeting in January,
we'll do it in December, last meeting.
or next meeting, that's fine too. Okay. Anything else from council?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. With that, any announcements or discussion? Okay. Would entertain a motion concerning the claims.
I make a motion, we pay the claims.
Claims, is there a second? Second from Morris. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, claims are approved.
Make a
And,
motion to adjourn?
Not quite yet here.
Oh.
Before we adjourn,
Sierra.
I want to wish the community a happy Thanksgiving. I know it's been a challenging year for a lot of families. This is definitely a time to really look back and, we're definitely more blessed than we realize sometimes. This is our challenging times, but we are still blessed to live in a great community and a great country. So hope we all just take a moment this next week or so to think back and remember that. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Sierra.
I make a motion, we adjourn
We
to.
have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Motion second from Dick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned. Our next meeting is Monday, December 14th at 7:15 PM. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.